I started over 70 years ago collecting history when I was growing up in Norristown, Pennsylvania. I'm 80 years old now, and I started as a young boy going around to the Salvation Army's bookstores and buying books. We were called Negroes and colored people in those days. Then I later learned that black was a part of our history too, and African. I learned a lot from my father, who was he read a lot. He had books by Langston Hughes and Dora Hurston and Oscar Michel, the filmmaker, and others. And also learned our history from my grandfather, who would come to our house every Sunday and sing spirituals. One day he was singing a song, "There's a highway to heaven, there's a highway to heaven, walking up the King's Highway." I said, "Grandpa, what are you thinking about?" He said, "I'm thinking about the Underground Railroad." I thought the Underground Railroad at 10 years old was a choo-choo train went underground. But later I discovered that my ancestors, some of them escaped from southern Delaware with Harriet Tubman, came to Philadelphia, met with William Steele, and later went to Canada. I never knew at the time, as I got older, I would be instrumental in writing about the Underground Railroad. My cover story for National Geographic was July of '84. It was voted one of the most popular articles ever by National Geographic on the Underground Railroad. And later I went to Canada and all over. So then I started collecting books on other subjects, on Africa, as I said before. And later I donated a collection here at Temple. Among the collection is the oldest book we have here. It's 1557, about early Africa. Now, of course, I collected books about slavery, Frederick Douglass, and excuse me, and other involving slave narratives, books, poems by Phyllis Wheatley. There's so many, the whole spectrum of our history, from ancient Africa, even books written in various languages about our history. Well, our family name, the Blockson, goes back at least 150 years in Philadelphia. As I said, some of my ancestors settled from southern Delaware, Sussex County, came to Philadelphia. Even when W. Du Bois, the great scholar Dr. W. Du Bois, wrote the Philadelphia Negro, some of my relatives was interviewed by him because they owned businesses in the 7th Ward. And later, I had relatives who were involved, even before that, who came to Philadelphia, and later was part of Camp William Penn, the colored camp. 11,000 African Americans were trained in the upper end of Broad Street, Philadelphia. So our history goes back. Another relative had a beauty shop who did colored people here and Negro women here. So our history goes back. And later, when I became founder of the African American History Museum in Philadelphia, I'm a founding member of that. They wanted me to donate to my collection at the time, back in 1976 for the bicentennial, but I told them I wanted to wait. And later, I was involved in placing 65 Pennsylvania state African American markers in Philadelphia. It's the largest historical marker program in the country. For instance, places like Mother Bethel Church, Philadelphia Tribune, and all the other places. So when you travel around Philadelphia today, you'll see where markers where our ancestors were a part of. So children, over the years I talked to many children, various schools all over, colleges, schools, like collecting endeavors, taking me to the Caribbean, to Africa, South America, and all over. But I enjoyed going across this country, especially Philadelphia. I later had it in 1981. I was involved with creating an exhibition, 300 Years of African American in Pennsylvania, that was held at the African American Museum. So throughout the years, people have come to me collecting history about Philadelphia. I would encourage people to go to Penn's Landing. Penn's Landing we go there today for celebrate, for festivals and all. This is where they brought our people in. We must remember that Pennsylvania had enslaved Africans. William Penn, the Quaker founder of Pennsylvania, owned enslaved Africans. So when our ancestors came from the Atlantic Ocean, which is connected to the Delaware River, they were unloaded at Penn's Landing. We should start there first. Then we have Independence Hall. You go to Independence Hall. Our people were builders of Independence Hall. Then I would send them to the slave mart, on down around Second and what they call High Street. Today High Street is called Market Street. They had a slave pen where they sold us, and when they couldn't sell us, one day they would put it back in the pen. Philadelphia was a major colony for enslaved Africans. We must start from the beginning and work up to the fact and meet along the way, meet people like Richard Allen, who founded Mother Bethel Church, and Epsilon Jones, the St. Thomas Church. Our early church, although our ancestors were strangers in a strange land when they came here, they organized their own churches. The Free African Society, founded in 1787, was the first organization of African people, a mutual aid society. Although they were enslaved, they had their own churches. Mother Bethel Church still exists today, as well as the Zora Church and First African Presbyterian Church, and St. Thomas Church and others. So then we started our own business, and we became lawyers, became teachers. We have Institute of Color Youth, which is they call Channing University. We have Lincoln University. So African Americans who came to Philadelphia and other parts of this country are into all kind of endeavors. We had 3 African American mayors during my lifetime. We must know our history, because history is food for our souls. We must always remember the sacrifices of our ancestors. Although I collected African material pertaining to African people, there's over 500,000 items here in this collection today. When I started, I donated 20,000, but it doesn't belong to me. I'm only the conduit. It belongs to the world. It belongs to our people, to little children, school children, college kids, adults, all kinds of people. It belongs to our people. I inherited several items from Harriet Tubman's legacy about 5 years ago. You know, her robe, her shawl, a knife, fork, and spoon, pictures of her hymn book. You know, people said, but what are you going to do with it? I wouldn't sell it. It would be hypocritical to sell it. So I donated it to the new African American Museum that will open next year in Washington, D.C. It belongs to the world. It doesn't belong to us. Harriet Tubman gave herself to the world. She wasn't sacrificed. She risked her being captured many times, leading hundreds of enslaved Africans to freedom.